anything more about dreams?
I have a dream that I just had the day before coming up here. It was very strong, very emotional. Just before I awoke, I was dreaming that there was a face on the earth, on the ground, looked like what we see in pottery, like the smiling sunshine type of a face. I was massaging this face and like praying and sending positive energy, and this person was blind, and it got so emotional for me and so touching in this process, and there was others around me, and it was like this experience of really asking for energy to have this person receive sight. And the significance of it is changing and encouraging the people that were around me not to be praying at and toward and sending energy toward the blindness and to remove the blindness, but to send energy toward the receiving of sight and all of the positiveness of seeing rather than focusing on the negative of the blindness.
Well, you've interpreted that one very clearly yourself, haven't you? In other words, the dream had full conscious meaning to you.
When I woke up, and it was the point that I woke up, it seemed like to me that this all happened moments before I woke up, because I woke up at the place. It was very interesting. The first question when I woke up is, I wonder, did this person receive their sight? Inside I knew they had. But in my dream, I didn't see them stand up and say that they could see or anything like this. But there was this knowingness that it was finished.
Let's talk about it more fully. In your dream, the face that you were massaging was a face on the earth. And so, in your dream, it was not about one individual. It was about the awakening of consciousness. In other words, and your desire was that others, or anyone who was looking on, would be less worried about the blindness and more aware of the awakening or the returning of the sight. In other words, it is a very big thing for you as a teacher, isn't it?
Yes.
Talking about the awakening and the lifting of consciousness. And it is interesting, your hands-on part in it. In other words, you could feel yourself being a conduit or a very important catalyst in the allowing of that. Now, did you feel any in your dream, which is a very individual thing? It's about your energy. Did you feel? Now try to go back to within the dream, not after you analyzed it afterward, but try to go back to within the dream.
I love you using that try word with me. Very significant. I shall go back into my dream and do what?
And as you're there, try very hard.
You are awesome.
To feel. Were you feeling discomfort with the onlookers who were focused upon the blindness, or were you feeling exhilaration in your knowledge that all that was needed was to focus upon the sight? In other words, what was the strongest emotion in that part?
When I look back on it, it was much like the transition happened very quickly.
Yes, it is. You're good at that.
The transition went very fast from focusing on that piece of their energy and them praying toward the blindness or speaking to the blindness, and the transition of the energy came through me, and I was overwhelmed with the power. I could feel the power of the flow of pure positive love energy, and as that was flowing through me, I just focused on that, and it was just there. I just was in that moment, in that energy, and it was just I was so much overwhelmed in the emotion of the energy. I was total, absolute weeping.
The reason that we ask the question is because we can feel in your energy that it is one bugaboo for you, because you are a powerful teacher. And you have this knowledge. In other words, you are understanding as we speak the words about the contrast producing the desire, and then the work being upon focusing upon the desire. You understand that intellectually and even viscerally. In other words, you can feel it in your body. When you are one, we always appreciate interacting with one who physically moves energy, because you have learned in the moving of energy by trial and error. You've learned about when it flows, and you've learned about when it doesn't. You know when you are working on someone who has a strong desire, that their desire summons energy to them through you. And you also know, depending upon their ability to allow it, in other words, you can't, through your wanting for them to have the energy, you can't want it and focus it and force it through them. Their allowance has everything to do with that.
Yes.
So here you are in your dream, literally massaging. We have said, you may have heard us say, we really want to have you hear it now, that this massaging is one of the most powerful mechanisms that we've ever seen to assist someone who's not allowing energy to flow to begin to allow it, because the physical movement, as it is tender and delicate and precise, is soothing and causes a relaxation, which often then allows the flowing of the energy in ways that they would not ordinarily allow it. And so you actually have this feeling where you can actually be a catalyst in assisting the releasing of the resistance that would allow the energy anyway. Now, something that we're really wanting you to hear, and you're wanting to assist others in understanding, is that the desire itself is all that is ever needed for the summoning of the energy. They don't need you for that.
Right.
Your part of the process is in assisting in the releasing of the resistance so that the desire that is natural unto them can be satisfied. And we think that's what that big dream was about. You could feel it in a very full way. Very good.
I had a dream. It was probably my most profound dream. I'll tell you about a specific event that happened for me. Without going into real long details, I was brought to two different places in this dream. One was a chamber with beings that I didn't recognize, and I heard music. And another was a chamber where there was a library of books, and I read the books. And when I was in the chamber with the beings, I felt a sensation that emanated from here, this part of my body, and so completed me. And I felt so much at home, and such a wonderful, warm, amazing feeling that I've searched for that. And sometimes I search through that through people or events. And I was wondering if you could comment on that.
Talk to us about what happened in the room with books.
In the room with books, there were many, many, many shelves of yellow books. That was probably the shortest part of the dream. That was after.
Yes.
And I opened up a book, and it was on the physics of the universe. And I remember opening up the book and looking at information about physics and completely understanding it instantaneously in that moment, and understanding time and space and physical things. And when I awoke from the dream, I had it for a few seconds and it went away.
Now, how long ago was this dream?
This was about 7 years ago.
And can you remember, since it was a bit of time ago, can you remember anything that you were particularly asking or wanting? In other words, what was happening in your life, and what were the strongest questions upon your tongue at that time?
The dream came from me saying, let's go, I'm ready, basically.
The reason that we're asking that is because any time, whenever you have that a strong emotional response to a dream, it's always very significant. And one of the things that we are really wanting you to know is when we say ask and it is given, it always is. And so it feels to us as what you were asking for was sort of confirmation of your own value. And the room was, what happens with so many physical beings is, what we notice as we interact with those who are teachers like you, is that you live a sort of lonely life because you are on the leading edge of thought, and most people that you encounter are not quite up to speed with where you are. And so very often you're not surrounded by lots of activity or lots of others that give you any strong sense of community. But still, you are like so many people who have learned to find your value of self through the eyes of others. When someone is beholding you as their object of attention and they are connected to source energy, as they are connected to source energy and appreciating you, they flood pure positive energy all over you, and it feels very, very good. But then what happens with most of you is you begin to then associate that good feeling with someone's approval. And so you run around looking for your sense of well-being through the eyes of others. And we have a sense that you weren't finding much of it from your physical format in those days, and yet it was something that you wanted very, very much. And your desire was satisfied by walking into a room that was full of core beings, or beings who were on a vibrational wavelength, where you had a communion of spirit that took place. In other words, because when you awakened, did you feel soothed from it? In other words, did you feel...
When I awakened, I felt
completed.
Completed. I actually woke up and I took an hour and wrote the dream down, and every moment was very, very special to me. So I felt very whole.
And so it was your inner being's way of letting you know that you are adored, and that you are surrounded, and that you are appreciated, that you are acknowledged. And without any words, there was a complete communication of all of that took place. Yes, good.
Thank you.
Indeed.